Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As promised, this is the James Bond extravaganza. James Bond reviews and rankings. Not really that much in the way of reviews, more in the way of rankings and a few notes here and there. And a few words about the methodology used to rank my personal ranking of the James Bond films, EON Productions and non-EON production films. So that includes Never Say Never Again and Casino Royale, the 1967 Casino Royale with Peter Sellers, David Niven, etc. But, of course, this is going to be a long project, so there will be at least 3 episodes, maybe 4. This first episode has only 10 films, the top 10. I'm not going to start from the bottom and work my way up the way people usually do. Nope. I will be starting from the top and working my way down because, frankly, they all deserve it. They all deserve the top spot. They're all great. They're all fantastic. But some are dearer to my heart than others. Now, the methodology is probably a bit unusual. Unique. Not a bit unique, it's unique because there's no gradation in unique. So, first of all, the first thing for me is the humor, the jokes. How good are the jokes in this film? That's one metric, the jokes. I love my jokes. I love the James Bond one-liners. If you go on YouTube, you'll find many videos about the top 50 one-liners in James Bond films, and they are amazing. And this is one of the reasons that I'm doing this video in English, because if your English isn't good, you're not going to fully appreciate Bond. It'll be just another action film, and frankly, in that sense, well, there are better action films out there. This is not what James Bond is about. It's not about action. And we're going to get to this when we talk about the earliest James Bond films, because they are classified as thrillers. They're not action films, they are classified as thrillers, and that's the way Ian Fleming, the author of the novels, intended them to be all the time. Now, that's the first metric. The jokes, the one-liners, the tongue-in-cheek humor, very British stuff. Okay, so the jokes are number 1. Number 2, the actors, of course, and I'm not just talking about the person playing James Bond. I'm talking about the cast in general of the film, how good they are, how well they do in that outing, because sometimes the actors are fantastic, but they don't do all so well. So we have, for example, Jonathan Pryce and Christopher Lee, fantastic actors. They have very different performances as Bond villains than they do in their usual oeuvre of work that we see them in other films doing a much better job. So, the jokes, the actors, of course, the plot, the storyline, how engaging it is, that's the third thing, which is pretty obvious, of course, and the music. Just 4 metrics, okay? So, jokes, the actors, the plot, the music. I rate them all extremely highly, of course, in terms of cinematography, locations, and all that. I mean, this is what James Bond really trumps every other film with. Locations and incredible cinematography. They always get the best people because they can afford the best people. Especially, of course, after the first film, after Dr. No. But even with Dr. No, it was still fantastic. So, let us begin. And number 1, for those of you who care to zoom in, has been always in my heart, From Russia with Love. And for every one of these films, we're going to watch the original classic trailer, the original trailer, together. We're going to watch it together, and then I'll say a few notes, and then we'll move on to the next one. And this is From Russia with Love.
second James Bond thriller could be more exciting than the first.
Gentleman Agent 007. That's your secret.
Pilenko.
Hilarious.
He's back. Another Bulgarian they use as a killer. Take a look. You should remember him. This man kills for pleasure.
Don't
James
judge the
Bond,
cinematography.
That notorious, amazing Dr. No secret agent is back.
Don't judge
and
the
half the world is
cinematography
out
from
to
the
kill him.
trailers.
As he pits his murderous talents against the Iron Curtain and its velvet women.
Well, I'll tell you something,
It's
Clotilde.
very different on the big
You're
screen.
one of the most
if you
beautiful
get
girls I've ever
it's
seen.
HD, it's
I think
pretty
my mouth
amazing.
is too big.
No, it's the right size. For me, that is.
Of course, the women, they're always there. That's, of course, a recurring
From Russia
motif
with love
in
comes
James Bond
Tatiana,
films.
bait for the trap. From the four corners of the world come the men and women who play a deadly, dangerous game of espionage.
Do not be alarmed, my friend. We will make you as comfortable as possible.
Ali Kerim Bey, head of Station T, Turkey. Krasnogransky, codename Grant, chief executioner of Spectre.
My orders are to kill you and deliver the lecter. No, I do, it's my business.
And of course, I mean, I'm worried about copyright law and things like that. I don't want to show too much. You can go on YouTube and watch the trailer to your heart's content. But, I mean, look at Sean Connery. The reason this one is the best, in my opinion, the absolute best, is because Sean Connery was very serious, very real, very hard-edged. He was like the assassin. And he dealt with women the way Ian Fleming wrote in the novels. You know, he dealt with them as, you know, objects. He was a sexist, as is noted in Goldeneye by M later on, many years later. He's a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. Okay, a relic of the Cold War. See, that is the Cold War. This is the age of the Cold War. This is how women were treated back then. They were slap the woman, boom, done. Okay, it's very real. It's very true to the novels, which is important. Not all the films were true to the novels. Some were, some weren't. Some took a few things from novels. Some just ignored the novels and just took the titles. In this case, From Russia with Love was extremely true to the novel. Ian Fleming saw it. He liked it. He enjoyed it. Had fun with it. Had fun watching it repeatedly. As you can see, of course, it's very 60s, the color scheme and everything. It's very, very 60s. And it's not something that young people know nowadays. One of the reasons that I'm doing these videos is because I want young people to know the movies that they haven't seen. These are very exciting films, very enjoyable films. The acting is superb. The music of From Russia with Love was still the tradition of having a Bond song, a title song for James Bond, was still not established yet. So there was no song for Dr. No, which is the first film. This is the second film. The song From Russia with Love was sung at the very end of the film. It was not at the beginning of the film. Starting from Goldfinger, then you will see the idea of the title song. That's it. Then we'll see the title song and the famous, of course, Shirley Bassey Goldfinger. But From Russia with Love is a very, in terms of the jokes, even though Sean Connery is playing it very seriously, the jokes are very, very strong. I'm not gonna give them away. There are lots of them, but I'll say my favorite, which is I think my mouth is too big. For me, that is not the joke itself. That's not the funny part. The funny part is later on there's a window that opens up and it refers to that joke. There's the mouth of a certain actress who also plays a part in a future Bond film. And after a certain event happens, Bond says, well, she should have kept her mouth shut. And then right after that, we see the scene where we have the joke of, oh, I think my mouth is too big. It's the right size for me, that is. So in terms of jokes, that's it. In terms of the acting is fantastic. Ali Karim Bey was brilliant, extremely believable, very, very espionage-y, 60s espionage attitudes. Not just attitudes, but really imbuing the film with the ambience and the feel of the 60s and the Cold War and the imminent threat from both sides, and the idea of the big powers using the Turkish and the Bulgarians, etc., as satellite powers, which is a reflection of the geopolitics of the time. That is the way things were done. The major powers did not fight themselves head on. They did not fight each other head on. They fought via proxy powers, which is reflected perfectly in From Russia with Love. Blofeld was seen but not seen. His voice, his menacing voice, was incredible. Of course, Red Grant, Robert Shaw, was extremely menacing. You felt the danger when he was around, and you felt like, okay, if you didn't know that there was a whole tradition of James Bond franchise, you would have thought Bond's dying. Bond's going to die. Bond's not going to survive this one. This is going to be the second and last James Bond. That was it. Because you have to imagine yourself in 1963 watching this. In terms of the acting, it was fantastic. The story was extremely gripping. You didn't know what was going to happen next. It was very real, very cutting edge stuff, especially back then. If you don't understand the Cold War, if you can't imagine the Cold War, this film will be very difficult for you to understand. You really need to understand that the Cold War was a time when people felt like death was going to come to you at any moment. If it doesn't come to you in the field as a spy, it's going to come to your home as a nuclear blast. I mean, it was a very different world than the one in which we live right now. So that's in terms of the story. The music, very strong score, and it was the first time for the 007 score to be used, not the James Bond theme. There's the James Bond theme. That's the James Bond theme, but that's very different. This in From Russia with Love, there was another theme added by John Barry, which is the 007 theme, which is you'll hear it if you watch this and others. It was used later in other films as well, and it was the score for the entire fight here in the Gypsy camp, and it was the score for the entire underwater battle in Thunderball. So incredible score, really gathers momentum and has a crescendo. It grips you. It's brilliant music. So that's why it is number one. Such a beautiful classic. And number two is You Only Live Twice. Let's watch a few seconds and then mute and say our notes. Snippets from the previous Bonds, of course, from Goldfinger, Dr. No, Thunderball, and now You Only Live Twice.
Welcome, Honorable 007. He's the one and only Sean Connery.
Welcome to Japan, Mr. Bond.
And of course, this is great because it's James Bond in Japan, and of course the flashing political correctness Political correctness was out the window, of course. I don't think it was even a consideration back then. But it exposes us also to women, tough women, strong women. Aki was a very strong woman. Kissy was a very strong woman. I mean, every woman in this, every main woman was a very strong woman, very deadly woman. But of course, some of them die. Well, two of them die. Kissy doesn't die. Aki gets poisoned. So it reduces us to very strong women, very tough women, who save James Bond, as we can see. Aki saves James Bond many times in this film. So the reason it is so great and it's above others is because, first of all, its jokes are brilliant. I mean, the joke here is, "I'm going to hurt you." Well, enjoy yourself. And here it's like a lamb to the slaughter. There are so many brilliant jokes. From now on, you must do everything Japanese style. Okay, so lots of jokes that will make sense in the film itself, but the jokes are good. These are good jokes. They're not the best jokes, because this is not a comedy, but they're really good jokes. In terms of the acting is very good. The Japanese actors are far better than the English actors, minus, of course, the British actors, not the English actors, because Sean Connery is Scottish. Of course, minus Bernard Lee. Bernard Lee is the top. He's the best actor to ever play any part in any James Bond, in my opinion. Bernard Lee, who plays M. So this is the film where he says this is the big one, 007. So it's action-packed. The end sequence is incredible. It takes place inside this volcano. The acting is, as I said, is wonderful. The jokes are wonderful. The story is extremely engaging. You're on the brink of World War III, literally on the brink of World War III. So it's extremely gripping. The world will end if James Bond does not succeed in his mission. So, and of course the music it's got this bit of Japanese touch to it. It's a lot of fun. The music is also a lot of fun. So, and Sean Connery didn't want to do this, actually. They had to really entice him. And then he went away and came back for an exorbitant amount of money to do a very, very lousy Connery Bond. Yeah, so that's number 2. Number 3 is the first Bond I watched as a child. 1986, 1987. I was 10 years old. It was in the Empire Cinema in Leicester Square, and it was The Living Daylights.
The name that means excitement is back. Bond. James Bond.
That girl must be very talented.
Shoot up.
Believe me, my interest in her is purely professional.
What is this?
I've had a few optional extras installed.
Wherever he goes, adventure follows.
Two of our men are dead. Koskov's named you.
Then I must die. Eliminate him.
Kill him! He lives for danger. He lives for the moment. He lives on the edge.
Whoever she was, I must have scared the living daylights out of her.
James Bond, 007, The Living Daylights.
I couldn't help myself. I had to watch the whole trailer because this is one of the most exciting trailers of the whole series, in my opinion. Again, as you can see, I know all the Bonds literally by heart, but this is very special, very close to my heart because it's the first one I watched in the cinema, live, big screen, beautiful picture. And we had a box. Actually, there were boxes. You know, myself, my mother, my uncle. Anyway, so whereas From Russia with Love and You Only Live Twice and the Connery Bonds are so elegant and classy, and the suits are just right and perfect. This is gritty, hardcore stuff. Still Cold War. Still the Cold War. Still set in the Cold War. Because this is 1987, so still the Cold War. And the opening sequence is all about the Cold War and the struggle between the Soviet Union and the West, etc. But the jokes, incredible jokes. And the best part is that Timothy Dalton, who is a fantastic actor, he delivers the jokes deadpan. Boom! He delivers them 100% serious. There's no joke. He doesn't say it as a joke. He says them, boom. So whoever she was, it must have scared the living daylights out of her. Okay, so it's enough time for an assassin to make enough time for a sniper to make strawberry jam of him, etc. There's so many jokes. I think he got the boot. Which is of course an echo of I think he got the point, which Connery uses in Thunderball. The jokes are really good. The acting is superb. Unfortunately, of course, Bernard Lee had been dead for a while by then, about a decade by then. So there was what's his name? Robert Brown, I think. I think that's the actor's name who played him. I don't like him, but Dalton is a phenomenal actor, and he did a great job in the two films he did. He did this and License to Kill. Incredible, real Fleming stuff. Really, even more Fleming than Sean Connery, and even more Fleming than Daniel Craig later on, who's also a fantastic actor. Sean Connery, of course, is the greatest of them all. But as a raw acting talent, he's fantastic. Mariam Dabal, of course, is also great. So that's the acting. The story is good, but it's not as tight as the first two. It's not as well woven as the first two because it's a mix of two short stories that Fleming wrote. But it's okay. It's engaging. It's fun. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of chase action sequence. The car chases, etc. And the car does amazing stuff. Lots and lots of gadgets. But the gadgets are not as over the top as the gadgets in the Roger Moore films, which are ridiculous, but still lots of fun. So yeah, The Living Daylights. In terms of music, fantastic music. Now, the music that is used here in the trailer is actually the music, the arrangement of the Bond theme that Paul McCartney did for Live and Let Die. Not a lot of people know that, but this is the case. So yeah, this is not music in the film itself. The music in the film is very gripping, very action-packed. It's not always the Bond theme. It's mainly a rearrangement of the song "The Living Daylights" by a-ha, which is the band that played the title song, and a lot of it is used and rearranged. The melody of that song is rearranged into a score for the film, and it's brilliant. The action sequences are extremely gripping, beautiful. And then Goldfinger, which could have been number 2 or could have been number 3. I mean, really, the top 10 or the top 5 are very close, very, very close. Goldfinger is, of course, Goldfinger. It's the one where all the rules for Bond have been set in stone. And this is the one that all the Bonds, minus Craig's Casino Royale and the spoof Casino Royale, minus these two, all the Bonds have followed the formula set out by Guy Hamilton, who is the director who took over from Terence Young. So Terence Young directed the first and second and the fourth Bonds. He directed Dr. No, he directed From Russia with Love, and he directed Thunderball. And then he swore he'd never do it again. But Terence Young is the one who made Sean Connery become Bond, because Sean Connery was a very rough guy, very ungentlemanly like kind of guy, very very tough man's man kind of person, and he had to somehow make him wear a Savile Row suit and feel and look like he belongs in that suit. So he made him sleep in the suit, and so that's he civilized Sean Connery. That's Terence Young. And Guy Hamilton is like, all right, okay, let's take it and make a formula out of it, and make it even more fun and codify it. And that code, the opening sequence, opening sequence where Bond goes off and does something crazy. He's on a crazy mission. Highly unlikely he'll survive. He survives miraculously, which we see in all the Bonds minus the two Casino Royales. And then you got the title sequence, the title song by a superstar. In that case, it was Shirley Bassey, who was by then a superstar. And then you've got the film, and the film has to have, incredible locations, and the girls have to pop out of nowhere, and that's the formula for Bond until today. That's the way it is until today. So let's look at Goldfinger. I'll mute in a bit of it.
Stop! Look! He's gunning for trouble.
That's not Sean Connery, that's Bobby
007.
Simmons, by the way.
It spells Bond.
Shocking.
He's the idol of every woman.
Who are you?
Bond. James Bond.
The envy of every man. The nemesis of the treacherous Mr. Goldfinger.
This is also the first film where we see the Aston Martin doing her thing. The Aston Martin DB3/5, depending on the shoot, depending on the take. And this is my favorite joke. Who are you? My name is Pussy Galore. I must be dreaming. Is it customary to grant the condemned man his last request? The jokes are incredible. Positively shocking, of course, when he electrocutes the poor man. This is the funniest Connery Bond. I'm not even going to mention Diamonds Are Forever, where he was just fooling around. He wasn't even taking it seriously. And yeah, Bond faces off with Goldfinger. The film is incredible. It's so stylish. It's so brilliant, unrepeatable, inimitable. Connery really feeling as comfortable as possible in this film. His grey suit, of course, is trademark now, of course. And so, in terms of the jokes, fantastic. In terms of the acting is brilliant. Even though Gert Frobe is actually he's not speaking English. He's dubbed. So, yeah, here he is. He's supposed to be speaking English. He's not. Choose your next witticism carefully, Mr. Bond. It may be your last. Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. Yeah. So, that is Goldfinger. In terms of the story is phenomenal. The story is brilliant. And it's very close to the actual novel. Very, very, very close. Of course, instead of a saw, which they had in the novel, they used an industrial laser, which I would have preferred a saw. It would have been more realistic. But of course, Guy Hamilton wanted something weird. And of course, the car. The music, Shirley Bassey's Goldfinger, is a phenomenal song. It's an amazing song. He's the man with the Midas touch. He's, such a cold finger. Right, so Goldfinger, brilliant film. Please, young people, please watch it. Please. If you don't like it, that's fine. Just watch it and then make up your mind. Okay, and then, Tomorrow Never Dies. Pierce Brosnan's second outing as James Bond. Okay, so this is from the 90s. This is 1997. And its music, its score is fantastic. It's a very energetic score. Very it's replete with improvisations, riffing off the Bond theme, but then going off into another world. So also, there's a lot of the Bond theme being used in this film. It's kind of a apology after, Martin Campbell didn't use that much of it when he revived the franchise with GoldenEye. So, going back to the Bond theme, lots of it. And the trailer is hilarious because it's trying to be old school. So, let's look at this trailer because it's really, it's got a 60s feel to it. Look at this.
Action stations.
Aye, aye, sir. Sound the general alarm.
The Chinese pilot insists we're inside their territorial waters and he will fire.
An act of violence.
Torpedo.
It was an unprovoked attack on a ship in international waters.
The promise of war.
And instead of decisive action, all you want to do is
My goal is to prevent World War III, Admiral.
Now, the world has only one chance for peace.
When will our ships be in position?
48 hours.
And just one man for the job.
Bond. James Bond.
Jonathan Price.
How much do you know about Elliot Carver, 007?
Worldwide media ban. Those newspapers, radio, satellite TV.
There's no news like bad news.
I understand you once had a relationship with Carver's wife.
Was it something I said?
How about the words, I'll be right back?
So yeah, this whole thing is one man and brinkmanship and Cold War, and it's not Cold War anymore, so they have to find a new way of creating an enemy for 007 and for the British. So you got the Chinese now, but actually it's not the Chinese. It is the Chinese, but it isn't the Chinese. It's like in the Cold War, it's the Russians. Oh, it's not the Russians. Turns out it's not the Russians. It's someone masquerading as Russian, whatever. And the car, of course, the car, but of course it's a bit cheapened by using BMW, which is a very industrial, mass-produced kind of thing, unlike the custom-made, unique Aston Martin. But of course this is product placement, and this is the age of globalization. But Pierce Brosnan plays it very comfortably, plays it very Bondishly, and he was being watched actually by Roger Moore and Sean Connery while he was shooting some of these scenes, and he found out about Connery at the beginning, and then he found out about Roger Moore, but he felt the pressure. He knew he was under pressure. He knew he was being surveyed, and but he was hilarious in this one. He was very. He had the humor of Roger Moore, and he had the action and grit of Connery kind of combined in these two. Not quite the action and grit of Timothy Dalton, no, but Connery. Of course, he's not as big or imposing physically as Connery, but he tries to fill it in with some charm, which he has. He has in abundance. He has lots of charm. So in terms of the jokes, this is a hilarious Bond, one of the hilarious Bonds. Terry Hatcher or Paris, she slaps him, and he's like, "What's something I said?" It's just a tiny example. It's brilliant stuff. The comedy, the acting. Pierce Brosnan does a good job, very good job, solid effort. Jonathan Pryce was completely ridiculous, but still Jonathan Pryce. I mean, you can't fault him really. Judi Dench, the woman can do no wrong. She can do no wrong. It's just impossible for her to do anything wrong. If she goes up and just stands there, she'll be phenomenal, regardless. So that's Judi Dench. Terry Hatcher, tiny part, but she was okay. Even Michelle Yeoh, who I generally don't enjoy, she did a good job. She did an okay job. She didn't make fun of the part. She did not ridicule the part. She did not underestimate the part. She was good. Yeah, generally it was good. The guy who played Stamper was awful. The professor, Dr. Gupta. Believe me, Mr. Bond, I can shoot you from Stuttgart and still create the proper effect. That was very small scene, but he stole it. And he was brilliant. So that's in terms of the acting. The story was good. Still, brinkmanship. It's got the bit of you only live twice. If you don't save the day 007, there will be a thermonuclear war. Yeah. Okay. The music was very good, very pacey, very exciting, clever, innovative, not stale at all. Because some of the music in the later films turned a bit stale. Also in some of the Craig films, it was also a bit stale. So. Music was good. So overall, pretty good on the 4 metrics. Now, one of the contenders for the best music, okay, The Spy Who Loved Me. And the biggest scale and scope, The Spy Who Loved Me. Look at this. The music is very 70s. You can tell from the beginning of the 70s. This is 1977, the year of my birth.
Best. It's Bond. And
beyond. Look at the jump. How many movies have a jump like this in the 70s? And look at it. This is the first time where Bond's like, talks to the camera now.
James Bond and the
That's only the trailer.
Major Masova, Russian agent.
And of course the car.
Let them get ashore.
But it's a Lotus, so it's a good, unique car. Look at this. Crazy stuff. And there's a brilliant joke here. Of course, Roger Moore is the funniest one. King of humor of all the Bonds. All these feathers and he still can't fly. And of course, the car becomes the submarine. The film is as funny as Roger Moore. Look at this. If you had told Sean Connery you're going to throw a fish out of the car, he would have punched you. Look at Jaws. Oh my god. Oh! Of course, there has to be a bit of humor even in the fight. Even in a deadly fight, there has to be Roger Moore humor. And of course, there has to be a bit of
watch out!
Exotic Egyptian color.
In our business, and your people get killed. We both know that.
When this mission is over.
When this mission is over, I will kill you.
Within minutes,
New York and Moscow will cease to exist. So yeah, this is huge. Every location is huge, really huge. Okay, so Egyptian temples, a super tanker, the bad guy's lair is like this huge tarantula. Look at this thing. It's like nothing is like small. Everything is huge. Even the villain is huge. Jaws is huge. Stromberg has webbed fingers. Look at his webbed fingers. And he has this huge gun. Everything is big. There's nothing small in this film. Everything is big. I hate to imagine what else is big in this film. Because everything is huge. Look at it. And the woman is tough. Major Amasova, Triple X. She is tough and she always has a leg up on Bond. Sometimes that's literal, not just metaphorical. So it's a big film. This is the epic James Bond film. It's so big. It's incredible. So in terms of music, of course, it's got beautiful 70s music. In terms of the acting, very light-hearted, jovial, cheerful acting, which matches the mood of the film itself. Serious when it needs to be, but not the whole place, not the whole film. And in terms of the story is extremely gripping. And again, you've got this brinkmanship, thermonuclear, New York and Moscow cease to exist, global destruction will follow. And then the whole world would live in the sea, which is where Stromberg, the bad guy, wants the world to be. Why do we seek? He has a line. He says, "Why do we seek to conquer space when 7/10 of our planet remains to be explored?" He has a point, but he's willing to kill the whole human race to achieve that, minus those he thinks are worth it. So yeah, so in terms of music, very 70s, beautiful 70s music, beautiful 70s, feel to the Bond theme. Even the Bond themes are adjusted to be 70s, which is a trend that started with, of course, Live and Let Die, which was Roger Moore's first outing, and that, of course, happened at the hands of Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney is the one who reconfigured the Bond theme. The next one is also another Timothy Dalton outing, the second and last Timothy Dalton outing, which is License to Kill. A brilliant film, but not very Bondish. It's Bondish in the sense that he's up against unbelievable odds, but not espionage stuff. It's more like a crime caper rather than a spy thriller. So this is License to Kill, Timothy Dalton.
I want you to know this is nothing personal. It's purely
James Franco, young James Franco.
Killing me won't stop anything, Sanchez. See you in hell!
This private vendetta of yours could easily compromise Her Majesty's government.
You're going after Sanchez, aren't you? Are you crazy?
Make a sound, and you're dead.
Your license to kill is revoked. Effective immediately.
James Bond gets fired!
In my business, you prepare for the unexpected.
problem solved.
More of a problem eliminator.
More of a problem eliminator.
This is one of the 3 times where we see him smiling or laughing. 3 times in the whole film. Whoa. Pam
This is
Bouvier.
where it ends, Commander.
He's got to be stopped.
This is a typical Bond move. And again, it's in terms of the jokes are there. They're good jokes, but of course, Timothy Dalton does not smile except 3 times. 1 laugh, 1 fake laugh, and 2 smiles. Once in the wedding and once in the meeting with, oh well, never mind, it's in a meeting. So yeah, yeah, this is the jokes are fantastic, but they're not delivered as comedy. They're just, dry, very dry, cynical humor. And then the acting, of course, is Timothy Dalton. Fantastic stuff. It's Timothy Dalton. He's brilliant. And the whole cast is fantastic. David Hedison. This is David Hedison's second outing as Felix Leiter. The first one was in Live and Let Die with Roger Moore. Great, great, great cast. Excellent acting. Very real, gritty stuff. In terms of the story, as I said, is like more of a police caper, a drug caper, rather than an espionage thriller. So it's not as Bond as it could have been, but it's really gripping, real stuff that you could have read in the newspaper. In terms of the musical is very different. This is very different from any other Bond. There is a bit of Bond theme used here and there, but generally it's not Bond music, not the Bond theme, something else. And then Thunderball. So he strikes like Thunderball. This is 1965. This is the fourth Sean Connery Bond. And Terence Young's third.
I think he got the point.
He hated it because he hated the water sequence, which slowed everything down. And of course, the Aston Martins do some things, but not much. And the women here are simply the most beautiful women in the entire Bond franchise. No competition with these women. No competition.
James Bond is in operation. And what an operator he is in Ian Fleming's Thunderball.
So yeah, again, a very, very, very 60s trailer here. Beautiful stuff. That's Felix Leiter, notorious for wearing shades indoors at night. Very CIA, very, the Brits like to make fun of the CIA, which they do, of course, here. And look at this. I mean, look at this. The most beautiful women, and the jokes are fantastic. What sharp little eyes you've got. Wait till you get to my teeth. I think you got the point. Very famous jokes, of course. The acting is brilliant. There isn't a false note in the acting of any of these people. Look at this. I mean, come on. She's beautiful and dangerous, and she almost killed Bond. She beat Bond. He got out of that miraculously. The story is not Cold War-ish at all. This is the world being held to ransom by Blofeld. But it's good. It's good. And there was a fight about this story between, of course, the producers, and Ian Fleming had died already. So there was a fight between the producers and Timothy McClory because of the ownership of the script, because he had done some rewrites with Fleming. So there was the lawsuit, and it was settled in March later on in the 2000s. But because of the thing being in the courts, there was a remake of Thunderball starring Sean Connery, which was called Never Say Never Again, which is a really awful film. Has good moments, but it's awful. Generally speaking, even though it has the great Sean Connery, it's still pretty awful. Kim Basinger, disgusting. So anyway, Thunderball, the music, the jokes, phenomenal. The acting, brilliant. The story, gripping. The world held to ransom and all that. Especially Britain held to ransom, because there are 2 atomic bombs that are stolen. So who knows where they'll end up. The music is also very good. A bit repetitive at times, repeating old glory stuff from Goldfinger and the James Bond theme and 007. So 007 is from Russia with Love, and the James Bond theme is from the very beginning onwards. So starting to get a bit stale, but still, because it's just the fourth film, not as stale as all that. So that's Thunderball. Next is one of the best of the novels, and also one of the best of the films. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people hate it because they don't like George Lazenby as James Bond. But look at this.
An avalanche of action. Bigger, better, different. It's got to be when he's around. Vistas of sweeping splendor. Different. It must be so if he's in the picture. Fabulous beauties, all of them dolls, every one different. They've got to be when he's around.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
The new Bond.
Suppose I were to kill you for a thrill.
The different 007.
So yeah, people didn't like George Lazenby as Bond. I don't know why. I thought he was okay. He wasn't Connery, but he was okay. He did his job. He did it well, I think. He was menacing when he needed to be. He was funny when he needed to be. Well, but today's the 13th, Mr. Bond. I'm superstitious. So I think Diana Rigg, who plays Bond's future wife, I think she expected to play against Connery. So I think she was disappointed. So she gave George Lazenby hell, which of course made him feel miserable throughout the shoot. Telly Savalas was the wrong Bond. It was a horrible Blofeld. Horrible Blofeld. Horrible Blofeld. He's a fantastic actor, but he was a horrible Blofeld. I just did not like him. But still pretty good. Still watchable, still enjoyable, still fun. So anyway, the jokes were good. They were not amazing, but they were good. The acting was pretty good. Diana Rigg was really good. Bernard Lee was very good. Lois Maxwell as Moneypenny had a few really exceptional moments in this film, especially towards the end. And of course, Desmond Llewellyn, of course, as Q, had some hilarious moments at the beginning and at the end. So the acting was remarkable. The story is, in my opinion, the best story of all the Bonds. Bond is being told to let go of Blofeld, and somehow, because he runs into Tracy, who's the daughter of one of Blofeld's competitors, he manages to find a way back to find Blofeld again. So there's something there, and Blofeld has a horrible plan, a really original plan, very different kind of plan. So it's good. There's no title song for this one, so it breaks the formula that Guy Hamilton put in place with Goldfinger. But it's really good stuff, because Louis Armstrong sings "We Have All the Time in the World" in the middle of the film, and it's really good. It's very catchy, of course. Louis Armstrong's gorgeous. So yeah, that's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. The music's really good. The score is one of the contenders for the best score. I mean, it's this and Live and Let Die and The Living Daylights. Incredible score. just energy, raw energy. And For Your Eyes Only is the number 10. And I love it because it's going back to basics. The old school espionage, pure Cold War espionage stuff, serious stuff. Roger Moore being serious.
It's Roger Moore as Ian Fleming's James Bond 007.
Days ago. And the music in For Your Eyes Only, Roger Moore is an amazing dresser. He's so elegant, remarkably elegant. I mean, he's definitely the most elegant Bond in my opinion. Unbelievable. But anyway, Roger Moore is very serious. The music is not the music that we see in the trailer. It's very different music, and it's really good, really good. From the moment you see the gun barrel logo coming across the screen, the music is different in For Your Eyes Only. They're trying to refresh it a bit. And he gets a miracle car, but it blows up. He can't use it, so he has to use this Citroen instead. And he makes it work. He relies more on skill. There are no gadgets in this one at all. No gadgets whatsoever. I think this is the only Roger Moore Bond that doesn't have gadgets. He relies on his wit and his skill and his abilities and his natural abilities as a person, as a human being, his instincts, his raw instincts. So he does very well in this one. Roger Moore does a very good job. I think this is the best Roger Moore Bond in terms of his acting as Roger Moore. It's not the best story. It's not the most wow story with all the scale and epic scope of The Spy Who Loved Me, but it's very, classic Bond. This is like Fleming Bond, vintage Bond in the mold of From Russia with Love. It's brilliant. So the jokes also are fantastic. Oh, me night is slipping. So is your accent, contestant. Okay. He has his moment. He's the funny Bond. So he has these moments, but he's much more serious here than any other film. The acting is really good. Really good. Even though it's the first time we lose, of course, Bernard Lee as M, so someone else is filling in, and then Robert Brown will take over from Octopussy onwards. And the acting in general is good. Topol is very good. And the story is really, really, really good. The music is amazing. It's a very good Bond. Very good Bond. One of Moore's best outings. And he has a bit of the Saint coming across here. So those of you who watch The Saint, I recommend you watch The Saint. So yeah. And these are the top 10 Bonds, ladies and gentlemen. And next time we will go into next batch of Bonds. Thank you for watching and thank you for your patience. And I hope you go and watch these films, these fantastic, fantastic films. Have a nice day and try not to get into too much trouble.